Today we're diving into the fascinating world of Regency England to explore why money truly determined everything. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Jane Austen's opening line captures something fundamental about her world. Marriage and money were inseparable. But what exactly did money mean in 1811? Understanding the economics of the Regency era helps us understand why the characters in Pride and Prejudice made the choices they did. Money determined who could marry whom, who had choices and who was trapped, who had security and who lived with financial fear. Understanding the scale of money in 1811 helps explain why the characters in Pride and Prejudice made the choices they did. Let me start with some baseline numbers. First, let's explore the typical income levels across different social classes in Regency England. In 1811, a skilled worker, a blacksmith, a carpenter, a mason, someone with real expertise, made about £50 to £80 a year. This was solid working class income. It was enough to support yourself, have some security and maybe start a family if you were careful. A farmer might make £100 to £200 a year, a shopkeeper perhaps £300 to £500. A country gentleman with a modest estate might have £500 to £1,000 a year in income. And then there's Mr. Darcy, £10,000 a year. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 100 to 200 times what a skilled worker made annually. Darcy is extraordinarily wealthy. He is in the top 1% of England's income earners. But here's what matters, that £10,000 isn't extra money sitting in a bank. It's not savings, it's income. It's what flows through his estate every year in rents, agricultural production and other revenue. And almost all of it has obligations attached. Now let's look at Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice and where his money would go. Let me break down where his income is actually allocated. First, for the estate itself, maintaining Pemberley costs enormous sums. The house needs repairs, the grounds need maintenance and improvements, the farms need management. A great estate like Pemberley probably costs £2,000 to £3,000 a year just to keep functioning. And when it comes to household staff, a great house employs dozens of people. The steward, if there was one, was the highest paid household staff member, earning £100 to £300 a year. The steward wasn't considered a servant in the traditional sense. He was a professional manager who handled all domestic operations and reported directly to Darcy. Below the steward came the housekeeper and butler. A housekeeper like Mrs. Reynolds earned about £25 to £50 a year, depending on the size of the household and her experience. A butler might earn £30 to £50 a year. A cook might earn £20 to £40. A head gardener earned £50 to £100 a year. Below them were valets, £30 to £60, footmen, £20 to £30, coachmen, £25 to £36, chambermaids, £10 to £15, and various other servants. All of these people also received room, board, and clothing. This essentially doubled the cost of their wages. A household of the size that Pemberley required, probably 30 to 50 servants, would consume a significant portion of Darcy's income just in wages and keep. Next, let's talk about his wife's future jointure. When Darcy marries, he will enter into a marriage settlement with Elizabeth's family. This legal agreement will guarantee Elizabeth a portion of the estate income for life if she outlives Darcy. For a woman of good family, this jointure typically ranges from £1,000 to £2,000 a year. This money comes from the estate income and is a legal obligation. It ensures that if Darcy dies first, Elizabeth will have financial security and won't become a burden on her family. Then there's Georgiana. Darcy's unmarried sister requires ongoing financial support. This includes her clothes, her education, and her lady's companion, who earns approximately £50 a year. Georgiana is being trained in accomplishments appropriate to her station. Music and drawing masters cost over £1 per quarter each. Her education, including these specialized masters for piano, harp, singing, and drawing, likely costs £50 to £100 annually. Her wardrobe as an unmarried woman of wealth is expensive, requiring multiple dresses for different occasions, and she needs an allowance for personal expenses. Preparing her for marriage with an appropriate dowry, £30,000 given Darcy's wealth, represents a significant future obligation. Let's not forget social obligations. A man of Darcy's rank has social expectations beyond his personal needs. He entertains guests at Pemberley throughout the year. The costs of entertaining include food, wine, servants' wages, and general household maintenance during visits. He gives to local charities and to the poor rate tax required by law. He maintains memberships in clubs if he stays in town. He donates to churches and philanthropic causes. These expenses are not optional. They are part of what Regency society expects from a gentleman of substantial standing, and they directly affect his family's reputation and social position. Finally, Darcy's own personal expenses. A gentleman's wardrobe wasn't cheap. Custom-tailored coats, waistcoats, and breeches cost money. A riding horse cost about £25 to £70 to purchase, depending on quality, with annual maintenance of about £30 just for feeding and basic care. Beyond feeding, there was hay and straw to buy, blacksmith fees for shoeing, and the annual tax of 30 shillings per horse. In London, keeping a single riding horse cost around £120 a year when you included all these expenses. Membership in clubs, travel, entertainment, all of it added up. So when we add all these up, we see that when you total all this, Darcy spends roughly £5,000 to £9,000 of his £10,000 annual income on these obligations. This means he has a surplus of £1,000 to £5,000 each year. That's genuine wealth. He's not merely comfortable. He has the financial freedom to be generous, to invest, to save, and to choose love over money in marriage. This surplus is what makes him exceptional. Now let's turn our attention to the Bennet family and their very different financial reality. Mr. Bennet has approximately £2,000 a year. This is respectable income. It supports a wife, 5 daughters, a house with servants, and the appearance of a gentleman. But £2,000 has no flexibility. There's no surplus. It covers the basics, but not luxuries, not major expenses, not savings. A household with £2,000 a year might employ 4 female servants, a cook, 2 housemaids, a lady's maid, and 1 or 2 male servants. The annual wage bill would be perhaps £40 to £80, plus room and board. There would be 1 carriage and a horse or 2. The expenses are tight. And here's the important part: no substantial dowries. A typical dowry for a gentleman's daughter varied significantly based on family wealth. For a gentleman with £2,000 a year, providing a dowry of £1,000 to £2,000 would represent a significant portion of annual income or require borrowing. Most such families couldn't provide generous dowries without damaging their financial position. So Elizabeth brings minimal financial resources to any marriage. From an economic perspective, she's less attractive to potential husbands of modest means. A man with £500 to £1,000 a year might hesitate to marry a woman with no dowry because it means her family isn't contributing financially to the marriage. Her marriage would increase his expenses without increasing his income. But a man of Darcy's wealth? Eventually, his income gives him the choice to marry for love despite her lack of fortune. Other men with his rank but less wealth would have had no such choice. So what does all this economic detail truly mean for the characters and their lives? The structure of money in Regency England created a rigid social hierarchy. Your income determined not just your comfort level, but your options, your freedom, your security, and your future. Darcy's wealth gave him choices that no one else had. He could marry the woman he loved rather than the woman who would bring the largest dowry. He could afford to be generous. He could afford to loan money to Wickham to avoid scandal, to help secure Lydia's future. He could afford to be principled. Elizabeth's lack of fortune meant she had fewer choices. Without a substantial dowry, she couldn't marry for mere respectability. She needed to marry well enough that her lack of money didn't matter. That's a constraint. That's desperation, even if it was polite Regency desperation. And the Bennet situation illustrates why Mrs. Bennet was so frantic about her daughter's marriages. With no substantial dowries, with no sons to inherit and care for them, with the estate entailed away from the daughters, those 5 young women faced a financial cliff when their father died. They needed to marry well, not for luxury, but for survival. This is why economics matters to the story. Understanding the scale of money explains why the characters made the choices they did. It explains desperation that doesn't announce itself loudly but shapes everything. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy exploring Austen's world and the Regency way, subscribe and join me for the next adventure.